Hi, my name is Ben. Welcome to Ben's Language Lab. As we know, stories are one of the best methods to improve at a language, and stories with pictures, like these, are even better. And so today, we're going to read a comic together. This video is meant for beginner-level English learners, and so if you need, there are subtitles available, or you can see the entire transcript on benslanguagelab.com. And make sure that you subscribe for more videos like this one. I've got a lot. Your job now is to watch, listen, and enjoy. We're reading Tintin and Red Rackham's Treasure, which is the second book in a short series that we started in a whole other series called Tintin and the Secret of the Unicorn. So if you haven't seen those episodes or the other episodes in this series, make sure that you go back and watch those first so that you know what's happening. But let's get into learning. So, last time we had found these two morons still turning the pump into the night. But we're going to the next morning because they're treasure hunting. How exciting. So the next morning, we see Haddock outside with a big old smile on his face, right? He's smiling. And he says, "Something tells me Tintin is going to find the treasure this morning." He's got a good feeling, right? He feels it inside. Something tells me that Tintin is going to find the treasure this morning. And then we see Professor Calculus with his divining pendulum. Is that what it's called? Right? And he's trying to divine something. He's not very good at it. And then we see Tintin down at the bottom of the ocean in his diving suit with the tube connected. We see another sea anemone, some seaweed, some fish, or a fish, I guess. And then he keeps going forward and says, "Another bottle of rum. I'll leave it there for the captain." Because last time, remember, the captain went through and only brought up rum. And then he goes, "Oh, hello. I wonder what we got here." So we see something interesting, right? In a way to kind of say, "Whoa, what's that?" Is to hello, right? It's like a surprise, and you're saying hello to the thing, maybe, right? And so then he goes to see what it is, and he puts his hands and grabs it and pulls on it and says, "A casket. Great snakes. Can it be Red Rackham's treasure?" A casket is sort of like a treasure chest of some kind. Although nowadays we mostly use it for one of those caskets where they put a dead body, right? So it's almost exclusively used for a casket which has a dead person in it, right? So here's the dead person. They have their arms crossed like this. Oh, they're in their casket. But it can also refer to just a general box. That's a little bit more old-fashioned, though. But he found a box. Could it have the treasure in it? And then he says, "We'll have to go straight up and see what's inside the casket." And so he's going to go back up to the ship and see what's inside. But, a shark. And the shark comes at Tintin, and he lifts up the box to scare away the shark, right? Because the shark's coming at him, right? The shark is coming towards Tintin. So he raises the box to protect himself. What is that? That is part of the book, because these are actually pictures of the book. But what is that? It's not very nice to look at. Some sort of stain, it looks like. We'll just cover that up there. There we go. Good as new. Beautiful. Let's get this back to black, just in case we need it. And then we'll have to see what happens to Tintin. He's getting attacked by a shark. But then the shark just grabs the casket and swallows it. So he grabs it in his mouth and then goes, and it swallows it. It goes down his throat. And Tintin says, "Goodness, he swallowed it, and he's coming back for me." So he turns back around, right? He came at Tintin, he went around, and now he's coming back at him. Rawr! And then it tries to bite him on the head, but he's got a helmet on, thankfully. So it grabs him on the head and goes, "Arr!" And then he goes away with his teeth falling out. So he broke his teeth on Tintin's helmet. Phew. And then Tintin says, oh no, he's coming again. What can I do? If only I had a weapon. Right? He wants to fight the shark because it's attacking him again. It's going to come back and swim at him another time. So he wants some sort of thing to fight it with, a weapon, a gun, a sword, something. And then he says, well, perhaps this bottle will help. So he grabs the bottle from the sand, grabs it, and says, quick, back against this old rib. Then he won't be able to sever my air pipe. So this is what he's calling the rib, because these in your chest or in your abdomen, yeah, this is your chest up here, but your ribs are this part of your body, and they create like this cage. But we also call them on a boat or something that has like ribs that go along the side for building, and so this is sort of hard to see, but this wooden post here is also called a rib. Right? And so he leans against it. He puts his back against it because his air pipe is right here. This is very important. If he doesn't have his air pipe, he will not have any air, which is very important. And if the shark somehow cuts it or severs it, right, and bites it and all the air is escaping, that's not good for Tintin. So he protects it by putting it behind him so that he won't sever the air pipe. And the shark is then coming at him. He lifts the bottle above his head and honk, knocks the shark right on the nose. Bam! The bottle breaks into two pieces and the shark grabs the larger piece in its mouth and then smacks Tintin with his tail here. He gets a little psh, which breaks, you see, it breaks the rib. Right here's the boat breaking off, and the shark is now swimming up and away. There's another stain here. Uh-oh. Did my connection just crashed? Hang on. One moment, please. Technical difficulties. Okay, reopen that. Reset this to be this guy. There we go. Can you see my... Yeah, there we go. Okay. So yeah, there's another stain down here. I wonder what happened to this book. And then we see, Tintin is on the ground. He's laying flat on his face down, and the shark is coming back again, it looks like, or maybe. And then Tintin says, good heavens, what a blow. I just got smashed. Right? A blow is a hit. Right? It might come to blows as if you might fight with somebody. So took a blow to the head. And then he gets up slowly and says, whoa, thank goodness my suit isn't damaged. Right? If there's a hole in his suit, he could die, right? And so that's very important that his suit isn't damaged. But what's going on back here? He sees the shark. It's kind of like moving around, and my stars, he's drunk. He drank all of that whiskey by grabbing it in his mouth, or rum, sorry, it's not whiskey, it's rum. And then he's crashing into things. And then he falls right asleep. Well, now he's sleeping it off, I supposed. Here's my chance to try and recover the casket. And so the shark is now sleeping, apparently. And so Tintin's going to try to get back the casket. He's going to try to recover it, even though the shark ate it. So let's see what he tries to do. And then we hear, 2 jerks on the line. He wants us to pull him up, says Haddock. And then they start heaving and pulling on the rope. Heave ho! You wait! He'll be bringing up the treasure. Thundering typhoons, why does he have to struggle so? And so they realize that what they're pulling up is very heavy. It's very difficult. And then, we see the shark's tail start to come out. So they're pulling up the shark tail, and Haddock says, blistering barnacles, a shark! What a fellow! He's caught a shark! But what does he want us to do with it? And so now he's wondering, why bring up a shark? He caught a shark. That's kind of cool, right? What a fellow, he said. What a guy, huh? He caught a shark, but why? And so they're very confused. And the other man says, well, best thing is to ask him. Of course. Lower another line to him and pull him up. So he's sort of stating the obvious, right? We should just ask Tintin. And so they're going to lower him another rope. He's going to grab onto it and then pull them up. Now, I wonder, now, up I go. I wonder what the captain will say, is what he says. So he's going to go up to the boat. Up I go. Then he's wondering to himself, what are they going to say? I'd had them bring up a shark onto the boat. So we'll have to see what the captain says. So now they're all on the boat together. And the captain says, well, what's the meaning of this little joke? Little joke? Just cut open the shark, Captain, and you'll see. So they're saying that they should cut open the shark and look inside of its belly because they want to find something, which is the casket, right? And so at first, Haddock was very confused. Is this a joke? What is this? And then Professor Calculus says, well, in any case, I believe the fins are quite That's not how he sounds. In any case, I believe the fins are particularly tasty, he says. Particularly tasty. So nowadays, shark is not very common to eat, but shark fin soup is supposed to be a delicacy. And so he wants to eat the shark a little bit and taste it. So a few minutes later, they've cut open the shark, and we see one of the Thompsons running up saying, Captain, look what we found in the shark's stomach. They found the casket. A casket? A casket? Red Rackham's treasure! Red Rackham's treasure! Here it is at last, says Haddock as he sees the box of stuff. And so he says, quick, into my cabin. And then they're trying to open it, but he says, not so easy, it's all rusted up. So they're trying to pry it open. They're trying to open the box now, but it's got rust on it. Rust happens on metal or things like that. It's sort of like this orangish color. If you see rust, orange or sort of brownish, right? It's this thing that happens on metal when the metal is starting to get old, and it's actually a different chemical reaction called oxidization. But basically what happens is that the metal is getting really held together with chemicals, and so it's hard to open, he says. And so it's all rusted up. They can't open it. And then Tintin says, it's no good. You'll snap the blade. Better try this case opener. And so he's trying to open it with a knife, right? You see, and so he's just going to go and break the blade off, right? It's not going to work. And so Tintin says, just use this, right? It's called a case opener, right? It's more of a pry tool. You put it in and put a lot of pressure down to open the case. And so they're going to jam it open. And so he says, good idea. Hold it tight, you two. Hold on tightly, and I'll pull on it. Go on. Oh, no, then that's Calculus saying, go on, don't worry, we're holding it, he says. And then crack as it opens, and he smacks Calculus right in the head. Got it, he says. And now we see it's open, and then he says, billions of blistering blue barnacles in a thundering typhoon. It's not the treasure, he says. So that he's looking inside, and it's not the treasure. These are old documents, half eaten away by damp. Damp is when things get wet and they deteriorate like that, right? And so they've just gotten wet and old from being under the water for so many years, right? And then Haddock says, documents, fine. And what am I supposed to do with documents? He's a little upset. He doesn't want papers. He wants treasure, of course. But then Tintin says, oh, come now, Captain. Don't lose heart. We'll continue our search. So heart is when you want to do something, right? So he's saying, don't be discouraged. We're going to keep going. We're going to keep looking. Come on, Captain. It's fine. Then he says, oh, what's the use? But then we notice that we notice that Professor Calculus is looking very closely at these documents, isn't he? He's very intent on reading them. And then he says, "That's it. I've got it. These are all documents, definitely. All documents." Of course, he wasn't listening at all and is not being helpful. And then he says, Caddick storms out very angrily. "That chap will drive me crazy. Are you there, thundering typhoons? What are you doing? Oh, and you there," he says. And that's a way to refer to somebody. And you over there, what are you doing? He's very upset. And so he's yelling at one of the Thompsons here. "Me? You can see I'm helping my colleague to go down. Oh, don't worry. I've watched carefully how you do it." And so he's sending one of the other one down into the water without asking. And so he says that, "Oh, I've watched you do it. I know how to put on a suit." And then Haddock says, "What about the pump? The pump works by itself, I suppose." And so he's saying, "How is he going to breathe, you idiot? He has to be able to get air from the pump. What are you going to do?" And then Haddock says, "I'll work the pump, nincompoop. Then at least I'll know he's safe." So a nincompoop is actually a phrase that you can still hear. It's not as rude as a lot of things. It's a little bit goofy to call somebody sort of a dummy, a moron, an idiot, right? "I'll work the pump, you nincompoop." And then at least he's going to be safe. He's going to be able to breathe, right? And so he's working slowly on the pump, pumping, getting air into the suit, right? But then he looks over and says, "Thundering typhoons, what's that over there on the deck?" We see some interesting looking shoes. "Oh, the weighted boots. He's forgotten the weighted boots." So these are shoes that you put on your feet, but they're very, very heavy because when you're underwater, you want your feet to be on the ground. You want your feet to be much heavier so you can walk instead of... And so he's actually just trying to swim around, right? He's not heavy enough on his feet. His head is much, much heavier, right? His head is pulling him downwards when he should be walking, but he needs the boots. That's very important. And then a fortnight later, which just is an amount of time, right? And then we see them too, as usual. Here we are pumping as usual, they're saying. And so they're very upset about their failed attempt at going down into the water because they have to continue pumping. Now we're seeing that they're going to go down again. And here they're suiting up Tintin. They're putting Tintin into the suit. And we see Haddock say, "Blistering barnacles. You can stop pumping. Can't you see that Tintin's come up?" Because actually, they don't need to be pumping. They just keep going because they don't know any better. And so he's yelling over at them, "Stop! Tintin is not underwater. You don't need to pump if he's not underwater." But then he asks Tintin, "Well, nothing at all. I've been carefully through all that's left of the poop." And that's actually a part of a ship, not poop. It's a part of a ship, the poop deck. And so actually, a fortnight is probably 2 weeks, because that's an old way of saying, 2 weeks is a fortnight. That's a weeks. There we go. So 2 weeks is a fortnight. And so they've been there for 2 whole weeks looking for the treasure, but they haven't found anything. It's not going very well. Tintin has gone carefully through everything. He's looked at everything. And then Haddock says, It's just as I said. We aren't going to find it," he says. He's upset. They're not going to find it. And then Tintin says, "Oh, come now, Captain. You... ... Something is going to happen, but we're going to have to figure out what that is in the next episode. Why is Calculus looking out with a spyglass? What is Tintin going to say? I don't know. Come back next time so that we can figure it out." Thank you so much for watching and for enjoying. Make sure that you subscribe to the channel and comment down below with how it went today. What did you learn? Remember, there are transcripts for everything on benslanguagelab.com. I'll see you next time. Have a great rest of your day. Bye!